You say,
I say we are entirely unprofessional.
and don't tell everybody that. Don't tell everybody that.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about barriers to career growth. BizBuds.
You're listening to BizBuds. Super authentic, actionable advice.
We're going to open the kimono and show you what's inside.
I'm scared to see inside Mike's kimono.
Hey, it's Mike and Tom with BizBuds.
If you like geeking out over business, marketing, and entrepreneurship, this is the podcast for you. We're going to live record. You get to see us at work. You get to see that we're one-take wonders.
until our batteries run out on our phone. All right, who was that?
IRD. I love
you back too. It's honestly, I love the people that I interact with on Instagram so much, and hopefully people feel that in our DMs and in comments. It really means a lot to me, the people who reach out and connect with me. I want to connect with you, so don't hesitate to reach out. Honestly, I love it. So thank you.
Excessive minimalism, how the sausage is made, right?
I know, man. He's good. He's a good dude. All right, here we go. Let's get started on episode 10 of the BizBuds podcast. Welcome to the show. And
we need to clap first.
All right, we'll clap it in. Ready? 3, 2, 1. This is so, well, I'm just jumping into stuff.
Take this one.
Welcome to BizBuds. This is episode 10. We're going to talk about barriers to career growth. I'm here with Tom Ross, the illustrious entrepreneur in the UK.
How you doing, man?
Super good. We're actually live streaming the beginning of this podcast on Instagram right now. This is the first time we've done this. And we actually just came up with this idea like 5 minutes before this show. And we were like, hey, let's just try it. So very organic, very rough in this first go. But in the future, we're going to plan to do this just to help promote the show and get some of the content out to our audiences on Instagram. So...
yeah, if we sound a bit more distracted than normal, it's because I'm currently balancing all kinds of objects to prop my phone up. I've got like some cables wrapped around my neck, it looks like. So it's not the usual podcasting setup. But yeah, episode 10, man.
Yeah.
I feel like it's our first
super
milestone
good.
Of many.
And I was listening to some of our episodes. We have 9 episodes cut. And it seems like at the beginning of each episode, I say something like, well, this is episode 10, but we've only launched 1. Or this is episode 10 and we've only launched 2. And then Tom says, don't tell everybody that. And I listened to like 3 episodes yesterday and it was the same banter at the beginning of each one. So I would feel remiss if we didn't do that at the beginning of this show today. This is episode 10. Episode 3 launches today. And Tom, you say...
I say we are entirely unprofessional.
And don't tell everybody that. Don't tell everybody that.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about barriers to career growth, the things that inhibit you from progressing in your career. Tom, why don't you kick us off on this topic? You and I both have been through a lot of career history, a lot of different business things, a lot of different positions over the years. And
Yep.
we've worked with a lot of different people. What are some of the things, or why don't you start with one thing that can inhibit somebody from progressing in their career?
Yeah, I think even before we jump into that, it's worth talking about the distinction in career paths, because I've never had a traditional job, and therefore I haven't had that kind of, I think of a traditional job like steps, right? So it's like you go along, you get the promotion, you go up a level, you go along, you get another promotion.
Right.
That's how it tends to work. It's much more linear and organic when you work for yourself, right? Because it's just kind of this ephemeral thing that you're always working on and growing. You know what I mean?
Well, when you work for yourself, you don't get the promotion. Like my career was more linear than what you're talking about. I went in, I got my first junior designer job. I outgrew that position, got a designer job, not junior anymore, and then outgrew that position, got a lead designer job, and then a art director job, and then a creative director job. And it just was really linear like that. And you can see those steps when you have promotions or you leave a job, you can see the steps easily in your progress. But if you work for yourself, it's harder to gauge your growth. It's harder to see it because you don't have these these resume milestones that are dropping in your career path.
Yeah, it's like every day trying to claw it out is more how it feels, as opposed to like my team, they generally wait for annual reviews, right?
Yeah.
They wait until a year's up and then be like, "Well, let's look at how the year went and like progression and that kind of thing."
Yeah.
But for us who are in this entrepreneurial thing every day, it's clawing it out day by day by day. And guess what? You're not always going to move it forward. Sometimes you go freaking backwards.
Yeah.
You have days and weeks and months like that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so why don't we jump into some actionable ideas on what are the things that people need to be aware of that can inhibit them from progressing in their career, whether it's linear or organic and self-employed. You want to kick us off with a thought?
Yeah, I'm going to steal one of your notes because I'm mean like that.
Yes, good. Go for it.
I know before we hit record, you touched on people skills.
Yeah.
And I really think that's one of the biggest things. And I'm not even talking about like you having to be a networking machine, but essentially if you're a dick, if you're not a nice person, that will hinder you so much. And I've seen this so many times where they can be ambitious, they can be talented, they can be smart, but if people around them don't actually like them, generally there's gatekeepers to this progression, right? It could be your manager, it could be, someone that kind of offers an opportunity further down the line, whatever it might be. Yeah. If they hate you, it's really gonna hinder your chances of progressing.
Yeah, when I was employing people in my business, I was like, you know what? I would rather have a mediocre designer with amazing people skills than an amazing designer who was a dirtbag, who I just couldn't stand to be around. And I hired that way when I was looking for people in my business. I love the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I talk about it all the time, Dale Carnegie. And one of the things in that book is that 85% of your success is due to your ability in human engineering, in people skills, and 15% of your success is based on your technical ability. And so I'm a big proponent. We've talked a lot about this already in the first batch of podcasts that we've done for BizBuds. We've talked a lot about people skills and relationship skills and how important those are. So work on that. That is one of the keys. If you got to have the technical skills, but people skills is so critical. And if you don't have them, it can inhibit your ability to progress in your career.
Yeah, I totally agree. And a couple of things within that for me that have worked well are integrity and the concept of word being your bond. That's the stuff where outside of just being a bit charming and outside of, just getting on well with people. Yeah. I think in a business setting, knowing that you're going to stay true to your word, deliver on your promises, look out for other people, that stuff goes the furthest, right? That goes further than being the funny guy in the office or whatever, in my mind. Yeah.
I'm totally on board with that. Okay. So step number 1, people skills, work on them. Read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Practice. This is one of the things that I give as advice. Practice one of the principles every day out of that book. So if you're working on your people skills, open up the book in the morning after you've read the whole thing. Open it up and say, you know what? Today I'm going to work on talking to people about the things that are interesting in them. Today I'm going to work on calling people by their first name. Today I'm going to work on smiling more at people. Not like some weirdo, on the street, but smiling more at people.
I'm glad you mentioned weirdo because I think if you're trying to actively learn people skills, that is a great idea. But if you are having to learn it because you're not a natural people person or extrovert, I think it's worth noting that it can come across as a little bit awkward or rehearsed or forced at first. Yeah. It will later become second nature. But I've seen people who are like consuming these self-help books like they're going out of fashion and they come up and give like a really like canned remark to you and like a forced smile, and it's like, just act like a normal person. But that takes practice, right?
It does take practice. You've got to, people skills can be learned. Not everybody is a natural extrovert, a natural people person. So it can be learned just like anything else. It takes practice. And as you practice, it becomes natural to you. So don't just chalk it up and say, I'm introverted, I'm not really good with people, and that's the way my career is going to be. That will inhibit your growth. Yep. Don't be afraid to work on it and practice it just like any other skill that you might have.
Is it true that your third book is titled How to Become More Handsome and Charismatic by Mike Janda?
Well, I thought about writing that, but then I was like, there's no way that I can give people the ability to do that. So I was just like, I just can't write that book. It's just an impossible feat. I don't want to give people a false sense of hope.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
that's
I'm saying?
fair. That's very considerate of you.
It's very nice of me. All right, let's go on to topic number 2. This one I think is huge, that will inhibit your career growth. It is a lack of vision. If you don't have a vision of where you're going in your career, you're never going to get anywhere. You have to decide in your life, what mountain am I going to climb here? And then you have to go for it. You have to start the steps that get you up that mountain. And there are far too many people that are just waking up in the morning, going to their job, or even running their business, thinking, I'm just waiting for the next project to come in. And they're not sitting there thinking, what am I really trying to grow here? Am I trying to build an agency? Am I trying to build my own personal reputation? What am I trying to accomplish from a big picture standpoint? Far too many people are just thinking about tomorrow and getting the dollar in the bank tomorrow and not the bigger vision that's required to succeed in something big.
Yeah, and I know you are a huge fan of investing and, looking after your finances. And that is obviously a form of long-term success. I think the same lessons you apply to that absolutely apply to progressing your career, because you're right. So many people have this really fuzzy, quite short-term thinking. Yeah. They're not seeing the big picture. They don't have a plan. They kind of don't know where they're going. And you're completely right. That is so key, because it's only more recently I'm starting to get more financially competent. And so I'm having, a basic investment strategy and stricter budgets and projecting out how that's going to impact me in the future. Until I did that, I was just kind of living week to week, not really knowing what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And that is what I see with most people's careers. They are so in the moment. It's like, oh man, I'm really busy at the minute, or this project is stressful. They never get out of the weeds, take a look around and think, where the hell am I going? Yeah.
Okay, so the steps, I totally agree with that. The steps for achieving this, the vision idea, the first thing, that I talk about, and I did a post on this, is that it's hard to say, here's where I want to be in 30 years or 20 years or 10 years. I think it's unrealistic to set expectations that way. What I found while I was progressing in my career is that I had to climb the closest mountain that I could see. And then by the time I got to that mountain, the top of that mountain, I could see the next one that I wanted to achieve. So I'm not actually a fan of these big long-term goals of 30 years, 20 years, 10 years down the road. I'm more a fan of, what is the big thing that you want to have happen this year? Or what is the big thing you want to have happen next year? Because when you accomplish that, it's going to open your eyes to all kinds of new possibilities in your business, in your career. I saw this, when I graduated from college, for example, I thought, I am going to max out someday as a creative director somewhere making $60,000 a year, and that's going to be the ceiling of my career. That's what I thought. And 2 years later, I was making 60 grand, and then it just kept going up from there. I made a lot of money over my career and billed a lot of money to my clients, far exceeded any vision that I would have had when I was just a new college graduate. Somebody just asked the question, is it possible to become a billionaire as a designer? Well, probably. It probably is.
I mean, mixed with entrepreneurial.
Yeah, it does need to be entrepreneurial. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can build thought leadership and build a business that can generate a lot of money and help a lot of people. That's the vision. You need to have a vision to be able to accomplish that. So I'll give you another example. When I had my first two couple employees and they were working out of my basement with me for a few weeks, and I thought someday I'm going to have like 12 employees and then I will feel like I made it. And then like a year and a half later, I had 12 employees and I still felt the same. I climbed that mountain that I thought was the big mountain, and it really wasn't as big as what I thought. It was just the start. And what I got to when I had 12 employees, I started thinking, oh, now I need cool office space. And now what if I had 20 employees? And what if we did work for this client or that client? And it just drove me to see bigger things as I progressed. But you've got to start climbing up some mountain. Choose the mountain closest to you and start your path climbing up that mountain. So critical on building a vision. I have some other thoughts on vision as well, Tom, but I want to give you a minute to talk because I've been capitalizing the time here.
I love it though. So with vision, I think it might be interesting if we actually share our honest visions right now.
Okay.
As examples, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I've got my side hustle, and this is kind of connected to that. Within 2 to 3 years, I have my aspirations for audience and community growth and impact I want to have. Oh, hold on, I'm back.
Okay.
My battery's dying right now.
Oh.
So, so my goals there are very ambitious, but in terms of financials, I want to get to a point where I'm earning 6 figures from my side hustle. So from my hobby around my company. Yeah. That's kind of my goal. I feel like that would be a real good ambition to hit. With my company, I'm looking to essentially grow by 250% in the next 2 years.
Nice.
And there's various goals associated with that, again, with community and reach and impact, but that's the kind of top level revenue financial goal. And we have broken that down very, very systematically. And so I want to hear your vision first, but my next point is going to be like, how do you achieve this, right?
Yeah. Okay, here's my vision. And mine is a little bit more organic, but I want 1 million people to consider me their mentor and 100,000 people to consider me their personal friend.
Wow. Big.
That's my vision. And if
it's going to be a hell of a 50th birthday.
It's going to be so great, man. I've got 3 years. Well, I got 2 years to accomplish that if it's my 50th. Yeah. But that's my vision. And fortunately, my agency did well, and I've done well financially, and I don't have to be focused on the dollar. And so I can focus on something that I feel has bigger value to me and to the people that I talk with. I want this real connection. I don't want people to feel like they're out there alone trying to figure out their career. I want them to feel like there's somebody to turn to for the questions that they have as they're dealing with the things that they're dealing with in their business and in their career. So this is my vision. And I haven't shared that. I think I shared it once in passing with somebody, but it's been what's kind of been in the back of my mind. And I hate to put numbers to it, but that's what I'm looking for. And that's why I spend a few hours a day in my DMs. And that's why I spend time replying to every comment. And that's why I follow people back and compliment their work. And, I just really want that real connection. Making friends, because that has the most value to me. And I know that it has value to the other people as well.
Well, you blew mine out the water, buddy, because I'm here with like my arbitrary financial goals, and you're like, I'm just going to heal the world. It's like, Jesus.
Well, your vision is great, bro. It's this is the thing. It's like you have the same vision. Honestly, you're the same.
Man, of course, I got the same vision.
You connect to people the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I love everything you just talked about. We're both very aligned on that. Yeah. But as you mentioned, you're freaking retired now. So you get to do it purely for fun. Yeah. I have to make money from it in order to allow myself to keep doing it.
And you have a cash flow need because of overhead and employees that is your boss. That's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, Tom, he's the owner of the company. He's the boss. He has freedom. He can go home whenever he wants. Tom doesn't get to go home whenever he wants. Tom never gets to go home because he always has the burden of overhead and employees and
You've been there, man.
customer service. Yeah.
Like, can you imagine that if we were laying people off, and they're like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "I'm over here focused on making some friends, so don't judge me." Like you need both, unfortunately.
Yeah.
At this phase.
All right. Why don't we? I know we're going to chat more. Tom and I are going to chat more, but we're going to turn off the live stream right now. And
good, because my phone's about to die.
Exactly. That's why I knew what's happening. We're going to turn off the live stream. Catch this episode here in 2 months. We're so far ahead in our BizBuds.
We are, but
recording.
in the meantime, check out BizBuds in the podcast app. I promise some absolute fire is coming today. Actually marks episode 3, which is our first like actionable episode. The first 2 were us introducing ourselves, but it's a good episode. The show gets really, really good, guys.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in. We are going to turn off, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks so much, guys. And also the fact that about 8 people keep calling me G-Easy is just cracking me up every single time we go live. So
I love it. G-Easy, man. That's
apparently
good.
So, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
See you later,
see you, everybody.
Everyone. Bye. Man, so we're still recording. This is really weird to juggle for everyone listening on the main podcast right now. We just finished live streaming the first 20 minutes. It was a pretty fun experience.
It was pretty fun. I just shared it to my story. I don't know if I can tag you in it or what. Maybe you'll see it as well, but we'll figure that out after we're done recording. So why don't we jump into...
I got a good next point, actually, if you're ready. So, so we talked about people skills. We talked about vision. And I kind of got 2 points in one here. But my 2 points are, if you want something to change or progress, you have to change something. You can't just keep doing things the same. And kind of a side point of that is you generally need to have an action plan, because change doesn't just happen like magic. So if right now, let's say our goal was we wanted to be twice as successful in whatever measurement that is, we can't simply say, well, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, right? Because that isn't like proactively going after that. I'm a huge fan of reverse engineering. And I think whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're in a kind of more traditional career path, you can do that. And I have this conversation with my team members all the time. Like the more ambitious ones, like I say, I've got an open door policy, come and grab me and talk about your ambitions. And some of them do. And I say, where do you want to go career-wise? And they're like, I want to go here. And I'm like, great. So here's the 3 stepping stones to get you there. And here's how you get to the step, the next stepping stone. Here's what we'd expect of you. And here's the deliverables. And here's how you can prove yourself. And at this point in time, come and talk to me again if you've done all that. And then we can address that. So it literally, I will paint them the picture. And I've had it go both ways. Some people rise to the challenge and just destroy that roadmap and go after it. And other people look at it, and I think internally they're like, oh, I kind of didn't recognize how much work it would be to get there. So I'm just going to stay put.
You touched on a couple things there that I think are really interesting to me. The first one is, you as an entrepreneur want to know the vision of your employees and then provide them the ability to fulfill that vision inside the walls of your own business. This puts you both in harmony in the value that your business is providing to the employees themselves. And I love that perspective, and it's good leadership on your part.
I had one of those meetings today, for reference. Literally sat down this morning and was like, cool, where do you want to go? And this is someone that we've just given a promotion, and I'm already talking about like, where do you want to go from here?
Yeah. It's so good. And I'm sure that your employees value that and appreciate that from you. So that's super leadership, in my opinion. That's exactly what a good business leader is going to do. That was the first thing that I thought was important. And what you said, pivoting and changing, you've got to watch your career as you're climbing up this mountain, and don't be afraid to pivot and tweak. You go with the analogy of an airplane that is flying to a destination, and if it's like 1 degree off course, by the time it gets to 3 hours into the flight, it will be 7,000 miles off course because it was 1 degree off the entire time. Now, 1 degree sounds so small, but that pivot back to being on course is what gets it to its destination. And this is the perspective we need to have in our career. We've got to always be looking at, what am I trying to accomplish? What's the big vision? And then I'm pivoting, always pivoting back on course so that I don't end up somewhere in the boonies at the end of this journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always love that plane analogy. I think it's spot on. What do you think about the whole, if you want something to change or develop, you have to make a change concept?
I love that. I put something like that in my post yesterday about the algorithm blues. It was if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got, is how I phrased it. But
I know you got the guitar behind you. That sounds like a future song collab.
Sounds like a country song.
Algorithm blues.
Yeah. So if you do the same thing over and over again, they call that that's the definition of insanity. That's the cliche you always hear. And people quote, like, Albert Einstein saying that or something. I don't know who even said that.
Normally it's your Instagram feed. It's got a picture of Tom Hardy and it's like incorrectly credited to him.
Exactly. Reason. It's so true. It's so true. But it is true. It's a true sentiment. If you do the same thing over and over again, you are going to likely get the same results over and over and over again. So you always have to be changing the formula. If you're not getting what you want out of life, out of your career, you've got to look at what you're doing and change the formula until you start getting the results you're looking for.
I agree. My mind's whirring now that I'm not holding a phone up, trying to live stream at the same time. I can actually focus.
It's good. Yeah. Now you're like, what do I even say?
Yeah.
It feels so formal.
So one of the other conversations I have with our team is really trying to shift them towards higher impact stuff, because that's how you progress. And I've had people where they've got quite a varied role, and I will get them to disseminate down everything they do and think about it in terms of impact upon the business. And let's say they've got like 1/3 high impact tasks they're doing, 1/3 mid impact, and 1/3 low impact. Obviously, if they drop or reduce or find a way around doing so much of the low impact stuff and reallocate that time to high impact stuff, it's going to be easier to progress them, because I can justify paying them more and making them more senior, because they are directly helping grow the business more. They're having a greater impact. And it's easy for us to say that, but I've literally had people where they kind of get quite attached to some of their low impact jobs that are quite enjoyable for them and stuff like that. So it really, it can be quite a shift in mindset. It's like Pokemon evolving. And I've seen this when people shift from some of these low impact tasks into more strategic level thinking. I think taking more ownership, seeing the bigger picture. It's like getting away from kind of admin tasks that have been assigned to you and thinking about knock-on effects and repercussions of what you're doing and how it impacts other team members and how it impacts the wider business. Seeing the bigger picture is huge. And so that's kind of one evolution, but it comes in many forms. That could come from not being a manager and then aspiring to become a manager. It's like you evolve to a new stage where your mindset, your day-to-day, it's all completely different from what you were used to before. It's that next stage up.
Yeah. So I would phrase that, if we were going to try and make that a little more generic, as either a lack of ambition is going to inhibit your growth, or a lack of desire for responsibility, or laziness. All three of those kind of go hand in hand, that people get comfortable doing a low impact job and they just want to get up in the morning and go do their low impact job and go home at night. And that's fine if you consciously decide that in your life. I fault no one for wanting that for their life, but you can't want that for your life and then complain when you're not getting promotions and when you're not getting career growth and job opportunities and raises. You can't complain about those things if you don't want more responsibility or have more ambition or break out of lazy patterns of behavior, you have to want more than satisfaction with low impact jobs.
I agree. And I think most people don't, truthfully. Even with our team, I mentioned before how I have this open door policy. It's only the minority that take me up on that. So I can say to 20 team members, literally come and book a meeting with me and talk about how you can reach new career heights and fulfill all your greatest dreams and ambitions. And I certainly don't get 20 people showing up at my door. Right?
Okay.
It's a rare trait to have, I think.
This is a barrier to career growth, not wanting advice from people who have progressed further than you. It's going to inhibit your career growth. So Tom has an open door policy, and hopefully some of his employees are listening to this. Tom is amazing. He's got a great head on his shoulders. He can help you achieve what you want in your career. Go take advantage of this opportunity of him having an open door and go get the advice that he has to offer, because he's done so much. But if you don't want this advice, it's going to inhibit your ability to progress in your career.
And I bet it was the same for you at Riser, your agency. I bet it's not like you walked into work every day and people were queuing up outside your office, hammering it down, saying, Mike, can I talk to you? I want to, pick your brain. I want to learn everything I can. I want to move up. I want to move up. I want to move up. I bet that didn't happen consistently.
No, the irony is that I published a 400-page book, Burn Your Portfolio, while I was still running my agency. I gave a copy to every single employee, and I'm selling thousands of copies and getting email after email from people saying how great it was and so valuable to them. But I was literally paying my employees and giving them the book, and so many of them didn't read it at all. Now, some of them read it, but it's 400 pages of advice that I pulled right out of my heart and my experience. And some people, and they had total access to me, but they wouldn't even read the book, let alone come and talk to me to get the advice firsthand.
And no judgment. I think clearly those people are maybe not as ambitious as some other people are, or maybe they think they're ambitious, but their actions don't map to that. And that's fine.
Yeah.
I know tons of people where they just kind of tick along in their careers and they're perfectly happy. Not everyone needs to be this frenzied, ambitious person. But another example in my company, we've had people with creative skills and tendencies, and we say, you should make a digital product and you're in the perfect place. You will get free creative direction. You'll get easy access to market. We've got the perfect platform for it. We'll support you. We'll guide you. It's like thousands of dollars worth of value that they would get just by being on our team.
Yeah.
And get instant distribution and like a passive income stream. This has happened, I think, with 3 people now, and none of them have gone all the way through to fulfillment with it.
Yeah.
They've all just kind of done a great job at their job, but they've never executed on this extra thing, even though they had the initial excited chat of like, oh, I'd love to do that. That sounds amazing. And the follow through kind of isn't there. And again, no judgment, because I'd expect them to judge me when I'm up like neglecting my relationship, unfortunately, some nights and working late, and they probably wouldn't want my balance. They don't want the side hustle, and good for them. So I think that it's almost good self-awareness for some people listening. If they're like, you know what, I want to progress, but I don't necessarily want it bad enough to put in the work. And so I'm just going to accept where I'm at.
Yeah. And I think you said it a few times, and I said it earlier as well. No problem. Live the life that you want. Some people, they just want to go to their job and come home and coach their kids' soccer team and I should say football, because we have more international audience, but coach their kids' team and have their life and not have the burden of entrepreneurship and drive and ambition, because there is a price to pay for that. It's a price of time. It's a price of stress load. It's a price of anxiety disorders and all kinds of things that come out of charging up the hill in
we're
this
weirdos,
world.
Right? We need more, and not in a capitalistic sense, but just like it's never enough. Like,
Yeah.
and that's not money. That's like, I want the next challenge. I want the next thing.
Yeah.
We're never satisfied. And that is in some ways unhealthy.
Yeah.
I envy the people that don't have that.
I do too. So the irony of this conversation is that most of the people listening are probably not that way, because the people we're talking about frequently aren't chewing through business podcasts how to how to get through the barriers of their career growth. Those aren't the people chewing this content up. They're the people who are doing their thing that is outside of this. So in harmony with thinking closer about our audience, we're probably safe to say, go get advice, have ambition, climb the mountain, get a vision, go after it, pivot as you go. These are some of the touch points we've had so far.
Another one, and again, I'm just thinking who's done well in our team and who's progressed well, is when I feel like they are the one pushing the role forward rather than me. And there's a big difference. Like with me as their manager, I can give people roadmaps and work and try and encourage them and make sure they're busy enough and so on. There's other people where I feel like I can pretty much take my hands off, and it's like they're the one driving it and trying to get every, last drop squeezed out of it and push it and push it and push it and make it the greatest thing it can be. Yeah. They're almost treating it like it's their own mini business. They're part of our company. And that is like the dream team member. That's the person where you go, you know what, you deserve the progression.
Exactly. It's somebody who's helping you push the boulder up the hill, and not somebody who is attached to you with a rope and you're dragging them up the hill. I had both people in my agency. I always felt like I was pushing the boulder, because as the owner of the business, that's how you feel. You're the one every day is pushing the boulder up the mountain. And sometimes I would feel like, oh man, this employee really is helping me push this boulder. Thank you so much. I love this person who's helping me push the boulder. And then you have other people who you feel like they're strapped to your waist and you're walking up the hill pushing the boulder and you're dragging them behind you. You're like, we're going up this hill, everybody. And I'm just going to drag you up this hill if I have to, but I sure would rather have you here by my side pushing the boulder with me, rather than me dragging you up that mountain.
Yeah, and that's not to do those people a disservice. To continue the analogy, they might not be always pushing the boulder, but they are, helping you when you kind of break down and get exhausted. They're helping look after you, and they're there like, propping up the rest of the team, and they are doing their specific jobs, and maybe they're clear in some of the way. So they might not be constantly grinding and pushing, but they're helping still.
Let's keep that analogy going. At least walk behind the people pushing the boulder. Don't make them drag you. Walk behind them so that you're not creating more burden than they already have. At least that. As a business owner, I'm just going to ask that to all of the employed people out there. Do the job that you're responsible for. And if you don't want bigger responsibility, that's fine, but at least fulfill the role that you're responsible for in the business that you've been hired to fulfill.
Yeah, that's smart. And I have had some people where they've literally stated their ambitions to me, and I've said, wow, that's like really, really, really ambitious. Here's how you get there. And they go, oh, damn, I didn't realize that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I find that super interesting. Like sometimes I've also had people who are like, oh, like, I want the CEO thing. I want to run my own company. I'm like, cool. Like no one's stopping you.
Yeah.
Like you can literally go do it. And they're like, how do I do that? And I'm like, well, it's different for everyone. What I did was I worked 100 hours a week. I put myself in a hospital. I sacrificed every other aspect of my life. And I did that after 18 years of focus and committing to that one goal, and getting everything wrong along the way. So if you want to do that, good luck, and I'll do everything I can to support you. But like, I'll see you in 10, 20 years when it kicks in, like, so my favorite analogy with this is, I, like most guys, I'm sure I would enjoy having rippling abs. That would be nice. There's no way I want to put the work in.
Yeah.
There's no way I want to never drink alcohol and never eat like nice food and see my friends less and go to the gym 6 times a week. Like, I don't want to do it. So I'm happy with the flabs that I picked up over Christmas. Right?
This is you giving up on your diet right now. Live on the BizBud podcast, Tom is
I'm
giving up on his diet.
I'm actually.
It's February 11th or February 12th today,
Yeah, I'm like,
and
screw
Tom's throwing in the towel right here in front of all of us.
I'm actually, for the record, I'm doing quite well at the minute, and I'm on a good health kick. But I just know my limits. I know what I'm happy to put in and what I'm not, and so I manage my expectations and my outcomes around that.
Yeah,
realism.
Yeah, it's really good. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Good advice. Okay, let's go into the next barrier. This is one that I think is really important. Fear of the client or the customer is a barrier to your career growth, and a lot of people have this. They're afraid to talk to the customer. They're afraid to be in the client meeting. They're afraid they don't know what to say. This fear is going to inhibit your ability to progress in your career. It's natural progression that the more you succeed in your career, the better you're doing, the more you are going to be asked, if you're employed, the more you're going to be asked to be in front of the actual customer, because you're going to be trusted by the business. And if you're entrepreneurial, you can't succeed if you're afraid of the customer. You've got to build relationships with the customer. You've got to be accessible to the customer. So fear of the customer or fear of the client can be a huge barrier to your ability to progress in your career.
And fear in general, to be honest. I did a reach out for a bunch of questions for my other podcast, The Honest Designer Show. Mm-hmm. And one of them, they filled out the ask a question thing. It's got like a character limit.
Yeah.
And so they staggered their question over about 8 of those by putting the next bit in. But what it boiled down to was just a really, really intense case of imposter syndrome. And they spelled out, they're literally like, everything's progressing. It's all going super well. I'm getting great feedback. And I was reading, being like, okay, nod. This sounds amazing. And they're like, but I feel like I'm not good enough. I'm not as good as the better people out there. Like, I can't possibly progress. I think they actually used the words, I don't deserve it. And it's like, no matter what tactics we get you with how to reverse engineer success and how to develop people skills and everything else, if your mind isn't right, if your mind is in that place, nothing else is going to work.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the top of the totem pole, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that really touches on one of the other ones that I have written down, is a lack of confidence. And you mentioned imposter syndrome. That can be another way of saying that, but a lack of confidence in your ability and in your career, a lack of feeling like you deserve what you're earning. This is going to inhibit you. The people who are ambitious and driven usually don't feel that way. I never had a big year in my business where I didn't feel like, okay, finally I'm getting some freaking big results out of this. Mm-hmm. I always felt like I've worked my butt off and now I'm getting my due. That's how I felt in those big years. And the imposter syndrome mindset would be, man, I'm rocking this thing, but I don't deserve this. What did I do to earn this? And humility is good. I'm a big fan of humility, but let's make it balanced with pride as well. I think an entrepreneur or somebody who progresses, an ambitious entrepreneur, has a good balance between pride and humility, and it's somewhere in between is the right level.
Yeah, and I know that varies based on your culture. So we're a lot more reticent in the UK.
I'm American, and I know you're going to go on some American pride bash right now, and I'm okay with it. So hit it. Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and he has set the tone for all of us, I suppose.
For the confidence. I love that you preempted it. You just did an 8 Mile on me.
Yeah. All right, but hit it. I want to hear it anyway.
I wasn't even going to be nasty.
No,
I was going to say, I'm sure if you emigrated over here, you'd be like Britain's most confident man.
Yeah.
Because there is that difference.
Yeah.
And I like it. I wish we had a bit more of the confidence.
Yeah.
All right. My final point, because I know we're coming up on time, is execution. This is the game changer in terms of my progression, because for so many years, I lived in my head. All my career growth and progression and future it was either in my head in the form of dreams, or it was literally on paper because I used to write it down. I don't know if you've ever done that, Mike. I
Oh
would
yeah.
literally write out the daydream and be
Yeah.
like, I'm going to go here. I'm going to earn this much. I'm going to
I
be
have it.
this many members. And yeah, like,
Hmm.
and it was just a joke because I wouldn't actually put any of the work in to get there.
Yeah.
And it slowly started getting drummed into me by various sources. Execution is everything. And I still live by that now, because as soon as I started being like, okay, no more dreaming, doing, that's what I have to do. And so I just set about doing and executing relentlessly every single day, working towards those goals. And I know it sounds so obvious. It's like, well, if you've got goals, work towards them. But it wasn't for me. I wasted so many years kind of thinking somehow I was getting closer to my goals just by thinking about them. And it's so
Yeah.
ludicrous to look back on that.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to give you the flip side of that because I wholeheartedly agree on execution, but I believe in the power of our subconscious mind doing a lot of the work that we try to do consciously. And if we don't have our subconscious mind programmed to be working on the right things, the things we really want, the daydream, then you're never going to achieve it. And there's something magical about writing down your vision, writing down your goals, and then closing the book. And then they just somehow magically, this is how the world has worked in my life, and I've seen it with other people, they somehow magically happen. I wrote down a bunch of goals.
That's a contentious point. I
Hey,
don't know about magic.
it's not magically, but okay, I'll expound on that here in a second. But I'll give you a couple examples. I wrote down, this was during the recession. I was like, scared. I was like, what am I even doing? What do I want to accomplish in life? And I started writing down a bunch of stuff. One was, get a book published, and one was swim in a shark cage, and one was go to Machu Picchu and, travel to these destinations and things. And then I closed that journal, and I'm not even sure where it is right now. It was one of these little Moleskine journals, and I wrote these things down, and I'm going to try and find it soon. And some of these things just started to happen. I did swim in the shark cage when we were on a trip in Hawaii. It was kind of a rainy day, and we looked at it and thought, you know what, let's go on this. So I took my oldest son at the time, and we went and did it, and it happened. I went to Machu Picchu. I was in business with somebody on a joint venture business, and he had employees in Peru. And one of the things that we did is we went down and did some training for the employees, and then went to Machu Picchu. I didn't organize this trip.
Amazing.
I didn't have it. I didn't plan it. It just happened. Burn your portfolio. I said, someday I want to have a published book. And then my subconscious brain starts working on this in the background, looking for ideas for this book. And then poof, one day the idea comes. It's the eureka moment that happens. So it's not that they just magically appear. It's that our subconscious brain is very powerful. And if you write down the things you want out of life, your subconscious brain will go to work looking for ways to fulfill those things. And you'll see opportunity where you didn't see opportunity before. And then going to your point, then you execute. That's when I had the eureka moment on Burn Your Portfolio, I was like, there's a book idea. I'm doing it. And I started writing it 20 minutes later after this idea popped into my head. And then it took a couple years, but I finished the book. And so you got to act, but let your subconscious mind do what it does by programming it to know what you consciously want in your life. All right, is that still contentious? You said halfway through it was contentious. So, yeah.
No, I totally agree, and I think it's just vision meets execution.
Yeah.
We touched on vision earlier. You definitely need that part.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like I said, you're in the weeds. And if your only execution is in the weeds and you don't see where the hell you're going, that's not good either. So you certainly do need both. And it comes in all kinds of forms. People literally make Pinterest boards that are like a visual dreamscape type thing.
Yeah.
And whatever it works, like a list, pin it on your front door. I definitely am a believer in that, where it sinks into your subconscious, like you described. and it will help inform your actions.
I love it.
But put it somewhere you can see it, because I hate having stuff on my to-do list for 9 months hidden away on some hidden to-do list. And then I'm like, damn it, I still haven't taken any action. I haven't executed.
Yeah. Well, at some point, time will come and that goal will rise to the top of your list. All right, we're coming up on time. Why don't we do just a quick run through on some of these key points, and then we'll wrap up, because I know you have like 7 other podcasts to shoot today. Why don't you kick us off with the first of the recap?
I feel like this is that old game show, whatever it was called, where stuff goes by on a carousel type thing. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
is it like The Price is Right? Yeah, The Price is Right or something.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. So Mike, I've got people skills. Is my first one.
Okay, people skills.
Ding, ding, ding.
Lack of vision will inhibit your career growth. Decide what you want and get after it.
Help push the boulder up the hill.
I love that. And pivot and change. As you're going on this journey, you've got to pivot. If you are 1 degree off on the flight, by the time you get 5 hours into the flight, you're 7,000 miles off course. You've got to always be pivoting back to accomplish your goals.
If you want something to change, you got to change something first, and that includes your career, especially.
Yes, if you do the same thing over and over, you will get the same results. I'm going to throw a few in because they were kind of bundled together, but a lack of ambition, laziness, or a lack of desire for more responsibility will inhibit your career growth.
Execute.
Okay. And then this is my final one, I think, that I have here. Fear of the client or fear of the customer. You have to figure out how to get comfortable being in front of the customer, because the higher you get in your business, the higher level customer you're going to be in front of. And you're a CEO of a business, you're going to be doing deals with CEOs of other businesses. So you've got to be comfortable early on with low-level customers so that you can progress to do deals with high-level customers.
And ultimately, the only thing you have to fear is Mike Janda's gigantic man hug when he meets you.
Hey, that's not a scary thing, man. It's not a scary thing. It's that is something to look forward to. That's what. Well, this is super fun. Do you have any final ones that we missed on our recap?
I think that's it, man. Nice neat bow around it. So, as always, thank you so much for listening. We got the best listeners on earth. I'm just going to put it out there. There's some fine people listening to this show.
And we're so grateful. We love the BizBuddies, our audience, and we love providing this content for you, and so grateful for your listening. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And as always, if you get a chance to leave a quick review on the podcast app store, please do so. We read every single one, even though the damn app is broken at the minute, so we can't. We're working on getting access again. We saw some incredible ones coming in initially, though, so please keep them coming, and do leave your Instagram handle if you manage to leave us a quick review, because we want to personally thank you.
Thank you. And use the hashtag BizBuds podcast. Hashtag BizBuds podcast. If you tag us, we will reshare. And again, thank you so much, and we will see you next week. We'll be recording episode 11, and launching will be episode 4. Here we go.
Bye.
All right, see ya.